Star Wars is stuck in a strange place right now. On one hand, it is everywhere, from theatres to streaming shows to theme park rides. On the other hand, it feels smaller than ever, like the galaxy itself has shrunk down to the same handful of planets and the same handful of characters we have seen 100 times before. But what if I told you there is a vault of stories sitting untouched? Stories so bold and so rich that fans still debate them decades after they were written. I am talking about the old expanded universe, what we now call legends. The timeline Disney erased, but never truly killed. Because here is the thing. Disney keeps trying to play it safe, making shows and movies that lean on nostalgia while pretending to be new. But Legends was never safe. It was weird, messy, brilliant, and often way ahead of its time. And buried in that chaos are tales that could blow modern Star Wars wide open if anyone at Lucasfilm dared to use them. We are talking about Darth Bane reshaping the Sith from the ground up, about Thrawn outsmarting the New Republic at every turn, about Luke Skywalker actually building the Jedi Order instead of hiding on an island. These are not just fan theories, they are fully fleshed out sagas ready to be adapted. And the best part is that fans are begging for it. They are not asking for another Snoke or another desert planet. They are asking for the stories that made them fall in love with Star Wars in the first place. Disney does not have to invent new myths, it just has to dust off the old ones and give them the spotlight they deserve. In this video, we are going to break down why Legends is the untapped goldmine of Star Wars, which stories deserve the live-action treatment, and how adapting them could give the franchise the bold new direction it has been missing for years. When Disney declared the expanded universe non-canon in 2014, a lot of people brushed it off as a necessary clean slate. After all, decades of books, comics, and games had created timelines so tangled you needed a PhD in galactic continuity to follow them. But buried in that pile of contradictions were stories so good they became legendary. These weren't cheap tie-ins or filler arcs. They were bold experiments, passionate storytelling, and often better than what we got on the big screen. Take Darth Bane, for example. Introduced in the late 90s novels, he was the Sith Lord who created the Rule of Two. His story wasn't just about some dark sorcerer waving a lightsaber. It was about philosophy, survival, and the brutality of tearing down an entire order to build something new. That's cinematic. That's begging to be adapted. And yet Disney has tiptoed around it, throwing us half hints in the Clone Wars and the Acolyte instead of diving straight in. Then there's the Thrawn trilogy, Timothy Zahn's crown jewel of the 90s. Before Palpatine clones and Snoke knockoffs, Thrawn was the Imperial villain who actually made sense. A genius tactician, calm under pressure, terrifying without ever raising his voice. He turned scraps of the fallen Empire into a real threat again. Imagine him leading a proper Disney Plus series with the budget of Andor and the tension of Game of Thrones. That's the kind of adaptation people would binge in a weekend and never shut up about. Legends also dared to do the unthinkable with Luke Skywalker. They didn't freeze him in time as a forever hopeful farm boy. They showed him as a man rebuilding the Jedi Order from nothing, training students, facing betrayals, and wrestling with what it means to carry an entire religion on your shoulders. This wasn't the broken hermit of The Last Jedi. This was Luke growing into the myth we always imagined. It may not all be perfect, but it feels earned. And that's the key difference. Legends gave us flawed brilliance. Disney's canon, on the other hand, often feels safe and sanitized. We get endless callbacks to the same four characters, the same planets, the same rehashed beats. Instead of pushing forward, it recycles nostalgia like a factory line. Compare that to Legends, where even the bad books at least tried something wild. At least they weren't afraid to break toys and move the galaxy forward. Fans still talk about Darth Caedus, Jacen Solo's tragic fall, or the Yuuzhan Vong invasion that shook the galaxy in ways the Empire never could. Were these arcs controversial? Absolutely. But they forced readers to engage with real stakes, real change. The kind of high-risk storytelling Disney desperately needs. Because here's the truth, Star Wars at its best is not just a brand. It's a mythos. And myths thrive on evolution. If you freeze them, they die. Legends showed us what happened when you let the galaxy expand without fear. Sometimes it was messy, sometimes it was brilliant. But it was never boring. Meanwhile, Disney keeps playing it safe. They're so afraid of alienating fans that they end up giving us watered-down stories that satisfy nobody. And that's how you end up with characters like Snoke, who exist for one twist and then vanish. Or Rey, whose origin was rewritten 3 times in 3 movies. So let's break down exactly which Legends stories deserve live-action treatment and why. Because it's not just nostalgia, it's strategy. These stories have been market-tested for decades, with fan bases that have never stopped championing them. You don't need to reinvent the wheel when you've already got a Ferrari parked in the garage. Start with Knights of the Old Republic. Technically not books, but games, sure, but they remain some of the most beloved Star Wars stories ever told. Revan's journey from Jedi hero to Sith Lord to something in between is tailor-made for television. Complex, morally grey, and still filled with lightsaber duels that make people's jaws drop. Disney could drop this as a multi-season epic and instantly silence years of fan complaints. Then you've got the Darth Plagueis novel. Remember that meme about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Imagine that stretched into a 10-episode slow burn about politics, manipulation, and the birth of Palpatine himself. House of Cards in space, except it actually matters to the mythology. People love villains, and this gives them exactly that without recycling Vader for the millionth time. And let's not forget Mara Jade, one of the most popular Legends characters, and yet Disney seems terrified to touch her. Assassin, smuggler, Jedi, and eventually Luke's wife. She was everything the sequels desperately needed, a character with her own agency who could go toe-to-toe with anyone and still feel human. Dropping her into canon now would spark endless discussion and maybe even redeem Luke's legacy in a way. The Last Jedi couldn't. The Yuuzhan Vong War is another obvious candidate. Imagine a live-action series where the galaxy isn't fighting stormtroopers again, but a completely alien threat immune to the Force. It would force Jedi and Sith alike to adapt. It would shake the galaxy to its core, and it would finally feel new. Something Star Wars hasn't done in years. But it doesn't even have to be giant wars. Legends had incredible small-scale stories too. Tales of bounty hunters like Boba Fett and Dengar navigating the underworld, or scoundrels like Talon Karrde carving out empires in the shadows. These stories remind us that the galaxy is bigger than lightsabers and Death Stars. And isn't that what Andor already proved works? Adapting these stories would also fix a major Disney problem: their obsession with filling in every gap between movies. Instead of cramming yet another spin-off into the 2 decades between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, Legends offers entire eras untouched by film. Thousands of years of unexplored history. Infinite room to expand without stepping on existing canon. And here's the kicker. Fans would actually show up. Disney keeps scratching its head wondering why new shows aren't dominating pop culture. It's because nobody cares about a random new Jedi apprentice or side quest when there are legendary characters already waiting. The demand is built in, the hype would be automatic. It's not about blindly worshipping the old expanded universe. It's about recognizing where the passion lies. Star Wars fans have been begging for these adaptations for decades. People cried when Disney killed them off, and they're still crying today. That doesn't happen unless those stories meant something. But here's the real question. Why hasn't Disney pulled the trigger yet? If Legends is such an obvious goldmine, why are we still swimming in mediocre filler instead of watching Darth Bane carve through armies on Disney+? The answer is fear. Fear of commitment, fear of alienating new fans, and fear of being compared to the very stories they sidelined. Disney wants control. They want a canon they can manage like a corporate spreadsheet. Legends, by contrast, was wild and unpredictable. It grew organically with dozens of authors pushing boundaries, sometimes contradicting each other, sometimes striking gold. That chaos is exactly what made it feel alive. But chaos doesn't look good in a shareholder meeting. There's also the risk factor. Once you adapt Legends, you're locked into it. If they cast Mara Jade and it bombs, that character is no longer the untouchable fan favourite. She's just another failed Disney thing. So instead they hedge their bets with vague cameos and safe new characters who can be dropped if nobody likes them. It's storytelling by focus group. And yet, look at Andor. That show took risks. It introduced almost all new characters, dove into political intrigue, and proved audiences will follow smart storytelling. Now imagine applying that level of quality to Legends arcs people already care about. That's not risky, that's a guaranteed win. The irony is that Disney already dipped its toes and saw success. Thrawn was resurrected from Legends and instantly became one of the most popular characters in Rebels and Ahsoka. That should have been proof enough. Fans don't care if it's old or new, they care if it's good. And Legends has more good material than Disney has managed in a decade. What makes this even more frustrating is how much Disney has borrowed anyway. Kylo Ren borrows from Jacen Solo's fall. Starkiller Base is just a Death Star turned up to 11. Even Rey's mysterious parentage echoes Jaina and Anakin Solo's centrality in the Legends timeline. It's like they're raiding the fridge for snacks but refusing to cook the meal. And the fans know it. Every time a new project gets announced, the first comments are always, "What about Revan?" or "Where's Mara Jade?" or "When do we get a Bane series?" The demand is not a secret. It's been plastered on message boards, Reddit threads, and convention panels for years. At some point, Disney will have to face reality. You can only recycle Tatooine so many times before the sand runs out. You can only sell nostalgia so long before it curdles. Legends isn't a burden, it's the reset button they desperately need. The future of Star Wars depends on whether they embrace boldness or stick with safe mediocrity. And right now, the bold path is sitting in their vault, gathering dust. Legends is the gold mine they refuse to mine, and the longer they wait, the more audiences drift away. And maybe that's the final irony. The galaxy far, far away doesn't need to be saved by a chosen one. It just needs Disney to open a book it already owns.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. My main channel is Critical Analysis Hub, where I post Star Wars content about the movies. My secondary channel is Critical Analysis Hub Plus, where I focus on the shows of Star Wars. And my third channel is Critical Analysis Hub XP, where I post comic books. Be sure to take a moment and check them out. Thanks, and may the Force be with you.